Hello and welcome to Jrock's Pop Culture Revolution. This is episode number 4, and today we're going to be talking all about this album. That is, of course, Foghat's "Fool for the City," and we're going to get right into that's probably my favorite Foghat album of all time. Like many people, I'm a huge Foghat fan. I love many of the band's classic songs from the classic era. But I'll tell you something. Their latest album, studio album, Sonic Mojo, that came out like a little over 2 years ago. Man, that's just as good as anything they ever put out. But I tell you, again, this is the album we're talking about today, and the reason we're talking about this was just released a couple weeks back, and the reason it was reissued was to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that classic album. And now, what's so special about this? Well, let's take a look at it. Okay, like I said, it's a reissue. That's got the band's classic lineup from 1975. Guys that played on the album, and of course the classic album cover of drummer Roger Earl. He's in the shot alone there on a New York street. He's got a fishing pole down a New York manhole. So we're going to talk a little bit about that classic cover in tonight's episode. Now, of course, some of the great songs, probably the biggest song probably off of this very album, of course, is the huge radio hit "Slow Ride." I mean, 50 years later, when you say mention the name Foghat, "Slow Ride" is one of those songs that instantly comes to mind, as is the title track off of this album, "Fool for the City." So a lot of great classic songs off this album. Now, just to give you a little background on this classic Foghat album, of course, "Fool for the City," as I said, 50 years ago, this album was released. And again, it was released on September 15th, 1975. It was Foghat's fifth album, but it wasn't really until this album came out. I mean, this was the band's breakthrough album. They really started to make some serious noise with this album. "Fool for the City" was the first Foghat album to be released since the departure of original bassist Tony Stevens. "Fool for the City" was produced by Nick Jamison, who would also play the bass and the keyboards on this album. So once it became clear that Tony Stevens was no longer going to be working with the band, the band's producer, Nick Jamison, told Roger and the rest of the guys, "Hey, I can play bass too. I can play keyboards." So they didn't have to waste any time on looking for a new bass player right away. Producer said, "Hey, I can do it." And one of the songs that they worked on together, while singer Dave Pritchard was credited with writing "Slow Ride," Roger Earl says it actually was a song that the entire band jammed out to, and it was kind of one of those jam songs that the band jammed out to as they were writing it. So everybody was very much involved in the writing of Slow Ride. Now, "Slow Ride," of course, has got that classic kind of bass groove, but the main part of the song really does center around Roger Earl's drum sound. And I tell you, that's it's just a classic track. I mean, you go see Foghat in concert today, you almost guarantee that that's the song they're going to end with. I tell you, it's just a huge sound, huge crowd pleaser. It's the signature Foghat song. There is no getting around that, folks. And so "Fool for the City," like I said, became Foghat's first platinum album. I mean, making it the band's breakthrough album, as we said. And right away became a massive radio hit with the song "Slow Ride." "Slow ride, take it easy." You all know a song, so come on. Like I said, now the song, let me see, "Slow Ride" became a massive radio hit, and became the band's signature song, as I said. And the album hit number 23 on the Billboard chart, and that's a pretty big deal to have your album in the top 20. Well, it wasn't exactly the top 20, number 23 though. It's getting there. It's pretty high up there. That's something that you don't kind of complain about when you have an album that hits the Billboard chart at number 23. So that was really they got some bragging rights, with this album and that song. The album cover, as I said, features drummer Roger Earl on East 11th Street in New York, sitting on a soapbox, fishing down an open manhole. Roger Earl said that during the band's photo shoot, they were actually disturbed by the police. Some police officers actually came up to him and some of the band members and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing here?" And when they found out that the band was actually shooting the album cover, it was an actual photo shoot. That they wanted to help the band out, and they actually took part in the photo shoot in the sense that the New York Police Department, just kind of on the spot, once they found out what was going on, they asked Roger, "Hey, do you guys have a permit to do this?" And of course they didn't. So the police were very helpful, and they told Roger, "You know what? We are going to shut down the street so you guys can finish up with your photo shoot." I mean, how cool is that? I mean, 50 years later, you got a pretty cool story to talk about, and so, how cool is that? One of my all-time favorite Foghat songs, I got to tell you guys, off of this album is the song Terraplane Blues. And I believe it is, let's see, I believe it's track number 4 on here, okay? And what I did not know until recently, until just a few days ago when I decided to do the research for tonight's episode, I found out that song is a legendary blues song. Actually, the song, I believe, came out in the 1930s. It was originally written and recorded by blues legend Robert Johnson. Now, as I like to always do when I kind of find out that a song is actually a cover and then it was originally done and recorded by somebody else, I love to go on YouTube, and I suggest you guys do the same after watching this episode. Type in Robert Johnson and Terraplane Blues. Now, believe it or not, the Foghat version is quite different. Again, Robert Johnson's version, the original version of the song, came out in the 1930s. You can look up the original version by Robert Johnson on YouTube. And now, what I found interesting, and maybe not too surprising, is because Foghat has always been described as a great kind of rock band that got the blues kind of influenced and infused in their music. So you wouldn't be too surprised to find out that Terraplane Blues is actually kind of it's a blues song. And if you go and you listen to the original Robert Johnson version, what's really fun is it is very blues sounding, and it has more of a blues sound, and there's very little rock influence in the Robert Johnson version. And like Foghat has been known to do over the years when they do cover other people's songs is they do a great job of putting their stamp, on the song. Another great example of Foghat doing that was, of course, the song. And now this song I'm talking about now, this does not appear on Fool for the City, but it's another great example of Foghat covering somebody else's song and putting their stamp. Of course, I'm talking about All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You. Now, many people mistakenly think that is a Foghat song. No, do your research, folks, and you will find out that All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, the Foghat version kind of had kind of a crossover, like a rock disco kind of feel to their version. Of course, it came out in the disco era, so it's not too surprising that they would sound like that. But actually, that song, All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, was originally done by another great blues legend, Willie Dixon. And Willie Dixon, his version of the song was a little more rock oriented. Because again, you listen to the Foghat version, it's got much more of a disco disco rock feel to it. But that came out in the when the disco was huge in the 19 I believe 1970s or early 80s, and so they do a great job of putting out great original music. So I just want to kind of make note of that. And so again, now I got thinking, okay, I won, and then I kind of got thinking, I wonder, if Foghat even charted with the song "Terraplane Blues," because once I found out it was a cover and that it was originally done by Robert Johnson, not only did I want to hear the original version, and if you go on YouTube, you can definitely do that. And when I post this episode that we're doing right now, I am going to post both versions of the song "Terraplane Blues" so you can hear for yourself. And there's no denying now. If I have to be honest here, I do love the Foghat version much better of Terraplane Blues, just because it's got more of a rock blues feel to it, whereas Robert Johnson version is just really much more of a blues track. And interestingly enough, it almost doesn't sound like the same song, but there's no denying that Robert Johnson is the original artist. So for that reason alone, you got to love the original version. I guess you don't have to, but you got to have respect for the fact that's what came first. And if there was never any Robert Johnson song, this song would not be appearing on "Fool for the City." But I got to thinking, I wondered if Terraplane Blues, if Foghat had even charted, hit the Billboard chart at all with the song, being that it was another cover. Now, Foghat did not chart with that song, but here's what's interesting. It turns out Terraplane Blues, which was not a huge hit for Foghat, it was the biggest hit of Robert Johnson's career. Kind of interesting that two people, two different bands put out their version of a song. The original artist in this case had a bigger hit. Now, what's interesting is Terraplane Blues, although Foghat did not have a massive hit with the song, that is one of the many Foghat songs you hear on classic radio, 50 years later after the album came out. It's still being played. It's still one of the songs in the set list all these years later. And even though it wasn't a massive, huge radio hit, I tell you, the very first time I heard this album, that was immediately one of my favorite Foghat songs. Okay, and of course, there's no denying like the title track. Okay, "Fool for the City." What I love about that is it's great, just like a great upbeat anthem. It's like if you listen to their lyrics, it's really about somebody who's just a city boy, loves going to the city, loves the nightlife, loves to go out and have some fun, just a guy that enjoys the weekend, having a good time. So again, kind of a great rock anthem, a great track to get you going. Today, knowing that I was going to be recording this show tonight, I was listening to this on the way home from work, and man, this album is just as good 50 years later as when it first came out. I was much younger when the album originally came out, but 1975, I was a young lad myself. We'll just say much younger. I mean, but these songs were being played on the radio back then. They were really quite new when I was little. And so I've had 50 years to live with these songs, like many of you, and it's just top to bottom. It's a great album. There's no denying that, folks. So let me see here. Yeah, and so "Fool for the City," this was the band's first master breakthrough album, and what's kind of interesting is "Slow Ride" is a signature song. "Slow Ride" became the huge hit. Now, probably the other big song off this album would be the title track, although it didn't it wasn't a massive hit either. But it's one of those songs again, like "Slow Ride." People mention "Fool for the City." It's one of those tracks we always remember. Now, In regards to Slow Ride, Roger Earl has said that Slow Ride is about sex, but he also was quoted as saying, "Hey, but all aren't all rock songs about sex?" Yeah. I think they are, Roger. You just kind of got to get in the mood and listen to the lyrics of Slow Ride because um, it's not even about just making love. It's about kind of the act of making love, if you will. You gotta listen to the lyrics. You gotta really get into the emotion, folks. Um, you know, interesting fact is that while Teleplane Blues was a Robert Johnson song, the Foghat version just was not as popular. Um, and so, what I want to tell you guys now about the new 50th anniversary edition of this, it's a and you can get the vinyl, I see, but I love CDs. Um, I love getting a CD myself because oh, this is cool. Like the little album jacket. It opens up, and actually got this great photo. It's got the great original cover that we were talking about on the front, classic album cover. And you got this back cover. It's kind of got the track listing here, and we'll go over some of the songs. Now, I was listening to this because we do all have our favorite songs, and I told you what some of mine were, but this is just a great album from top to bottom. Another song that I always liked off this album is My Babe. It's just kind of a fast, upbeat song, just a fun song. A guy talking about his girl, how much he loves her. Very much like Roger Earl said, hey, what rock song isn't about talking about love or sex? They pretty much all do, but My Babe, I mean, it's just a great. I minute I first time I ever heard this song, I fell in love with it. And again, that's the thing when talking about an album like Fool for a City is, and sadly, you look at these pictures, the only one that's of these guys that's still alive is Roger Earl. Roger Earl is the last man standing as far as the final original member of Foghat. Foghat is one of those bands, though. Um, I put them right up there with, kind of like Leonard Skinner in the sense that, most of the original band is passed on. Roger, like I said, is a last man standing, but he's got a lot of the backing band, the guys that are Foghat these days that are backing Roger up. Killer band, killer band. I urge you guys to not just get the 50th anniversary edition of Fool for the City. I urge you to go get the latest Foghat studio album. Came out a couple of years ago. Sonic Mojo. Another. People laugh when I say this, but I put Sonic Mojo right up there with this album, and people will laugh at that because they say, "Well, okay, I understand what you're saying about Fool for the City. That's an album 50 years old. I mean, those are classic songs. How can you even compare it to the latest album that Foghat put out?" See, Roger Earl, because he is the last man standing, I'm very appreciative as a Foghat fan that he continues to put out new music because let's be honest, folks. I mean, Foghat is 50 years later after this classic Fool for the City album came out. Um, Foghat could just kind of be going out and playing the greatest hits, every year, and people would come and see them. But I dig the fact that this new stuff kicks ass just as much as the classic stuff. I mean, again, I give it to Roger because he is the last man standing as far as the last original Foghat member. He's still out there doing it. Some of the guys in the band are a lot younger, but they Foghat today in 2025, you go see the band live, they kick ass just as much as ever, and that's a thing about a band like Foghat. I mean, I don't know what will Foghat continue. When Roger Earl is no more, who knows? We really don't know, but you kind of wonder, will Foghat would Foghat continue without Roger? Who knows? I think they could in the sense that okay, let's be honest, it would not be the same band without Roger Earl because of the fact he is the last man standing, the last original member of the band. He's the one that's kept it going all. So Rogers had that great spirit of continuing to carry on, the legacy of Foghat. It's much more than just a legacy band because, like I said, they continued to do live shows. They continue to put out new music. And yet, they put out this great 50th anniversary edition. And the neat thing about this is it is a 2-disc set, okay? So, of course, you get the original classic album remastered. I mean, I listened to this today prepping for this show, and it was real fun because all these great songs are on this album as they were. It's remastered. The sound is bombastic. What else can I say? I discovered pretty much every track on here kicks ass. I mean, another song that I really kind of forgot about was let me see. Let's see. Oh, save your loving for me. It's not really quite what I call a ballad. It's a little slower of a tune than like Slow Ride or Fool for Your City. It's a little more kind of a mid-tempo tune, but it still kicks ass. And it's one of those songs that it came from the 1970s. And it's, this album, the other thing about it is we get a little bonus disc. Let me show you guys this, okay? And actually, see, it is, this is what the bonus disc looks like, okay? See, well, I can't really see that. Okay. But what this is that I have in my hand, it says live at the Aragon Ballroom, Chicago, Illinois, November 28th and 29th, 1975. So this is an actual concert, the bonus disc you get with this, that from the Fool for the City tour. It features the original band members, that recorded this album. So that's pretty cool, and what I love about it is, okay, if you put on a live album, you want to really kind of feel like you're there, if you know what I mean. I mean, Frampton Comes Alive, Kiss Alive 1. These are, even like Cheap Tricks Live at Budokan. Those are some great classic live albums that come to mind. Cheap Trick's a great example of that because I'll tell you why. Anybody's ever heard the original studio version of I Want You to Want Me? It sounds almost like a country kind of swampy song. Sounds nothing like the version that's on Cheap Trick Live at Budokan. You put that live version on next to the studio version, and the studio version, I hate to say, loses every time. It's a great song, the studio version in its own right, but what they did to I Want You to Want Me on Cheap Trick Live at Budokan, they gave that song a new life. They gave it teeth. They gave it, I mean, you could hear the roar of the crowd. You felt like you were there that night when it was recorded. It really sounded like two different songs. Kiss Alive, I bring that up because that's another great classic sounding live album. And there's a bit of controversy for anybody who doesn't know around Kiss Alive. One, because, most people, when they got the album, they had no idea of this, but Kiss had to go back in the studio and kind of touch up a lot of the tracks on Kiss Alive 1, even though they were actually recorded live, but they had to go up and touch up some of the guitars and some of the bass and vocals and stuff. And so when people found this out, it's a bit of a controversy, but I don't really care because to me, I was convinced that that it was recorded live. I was convinced that I felt like when I put that album on, Kiss Alive 1, I felt like I was there. And even if we now know they went back and touched some stuff up, I don't really care because it sounds, to me, it has a special memory for me, that classic Kiss album, Kiss Alive 1. And I don't really care what other people think. It sounds live to me. I know it was recorded live. So what if they had to go touch things up? That's entertainment, folks. Frampton Comes Alive, classic Peter Frampton live album. I mean, if you're around the 1970s, I mean, we all knew Peter Frampton from Humble Pie, but that live album, that Frampton Comes Alive, that put Peter Frampton on the map as a solo artist. There's just no denying that. And very much like Cheap Trick's live at Budokan, the reason Frampton Comes Alive was such a hit is because those live versions of those Frampton songs, they very much had a kind of a new life. I mean, the live version of those songs really, for the first time, people kind of heard those Frampton songs having some serious teeth, if you know what I mean. And so that's why I think this is well worth your money. Now, you make the decision if you want to get the CD version or you want to get the vinyl version. I do believe neither one's going to, break the bank, but I think I paid like on Amazon $13.99 or something for this, and I got it the next day after I ordered it, and then it's not exact. And what I dig about this, it's not exactly like you say, well, I got Fool for City, when it originally came out, so why do I need to go and buy this? You really don't. But what I dig about it is the fact that it's not the same thing that everybody already has. They thought, okay, we'll throw in a bonus disc, a concert from that tour. And I always dig stuff like that because I always feel like, hey, I am getting something a little extra. The original version of the album didn't have the bonus disc. So, I'm not paying an arm and a leg for it. So, again, you decide if you want to get the CD version or the vinyl version. Now, folks, this is not the 1970s anymore. So the only thing you can't get an 8-track version of it. You can't get an audio cassette version. Now, these are things that were very big in the 1970s. Foghat's a band that's been around for 50 years, as I said. So things and technology and things like that have since changed. These great classic songs on Fool for the City. Another thing is I know many of the bands from the 1970s, you can download many of the classic songs from these bands as a ringtone. Now, if you want to look into that and see if Foghat's got any of these classic songs as a ringtone for people to buy, I'm sure if you're a Foghat fan, you can figure out if that's how to do that. So that's just a fun thing to kind of think about. And again, let me ask you guys, how many people out there are actually Foghat fans? I mean, were you a Foghat fan before Fool for the City? Did you become more of one because of this album? And I point to this because when people bring up Foghat, this is probably the signature album by the band. This is probably that album that everybody thinks of. I mean, and it's interesting because Roger Earl, the last man standing, how interesting is it that he's the only man on the front cover of the picture? I don't think that says anything about the rest of the band. It's just kind of interesting. I mean, who knew, 50 years ago that the other original guys have since passed, but Roger's he's still the lone wolf. He's still the last man standing. And so I want to thank Roger Earl for keeping Foghat going all these years. Foghat's a great band. If you get the chance to see them live, I urge you to do that. And anybody hasn't already checked out the latest Foghat studio album, Sonic Mojo, I urge you guys to go do that. In fact, it's been a while since I played Sonic Mojo, but that's another one very much like Fool for the City. And I put it right up there too, because even though it's, except for Roger Earl, different musicians in the band, it's not the same guys that played on Fool for the City. The band's got the guys in the band now. They got some serious chops. So and Sonic Mojo, top to bottom, I can't say there's a single song on that album that I don't like. So I really urge you guys to, if you're a fan for the City, go out and get the 50th anniversary edition of the album, the vinyl, the CD. You make the decision, whatever you want. But this is what I got. This is easy to carry too. You can play it in your car. How many of you still got a CD player in your car? Well, I was listening to this today, like I said, on the way home from work in preparation for doing this. So that's always fun to be able to do. It takes me back. I put the CD in the car. I'm on the way home from work. I'm getting in the mood to do this tonight. And it's taking me back to the 1970s when I was just a young lad. I wasn't, I mean, I must have been like in elementary school. But I tell you, I mean, Foghat, Kiss, Peter Frampton, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, those were the bands that I grew up on. Those are great bands from the 1970s, stuff like Boston and so I tell you that was those were just some of the bands that were the soundtrack to my life. We're just really getting into tonight, folks. I hope you have enjoyed this because I love talking about Fool for the City, 50th anniversary. Go out and crank this up and just be reminded of what a great band Foghat really is. But hey, they're much more than their classic material. Like, go check out the latest album, Sonic Mojo. And you guys let me know what you think. Do you think Sonic Mojo, stands up to Fool for a City? Do you think it's equally as an impressive album? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Thanks for joining me, guys. It's always fun doing this. Next time when I do this, a couple days from now, which will be, can you believe it? We'll be doing episode 5 then. We'll be doing an episode on Michael J. Fox's movie Teen Wolf. That's one of his earliest movies, from his movie career. And we are going to be talking about that because, Halloween's right around the corner. Teen Wolf is one of those movies that I know, at least that I think of, in regards to Halloween. It's not really maybe a Halloween movie, but he turns into a Teen Wolf. And because of that, a lot of people associate it with Halloween because Teen Wolf, and it's kind of a modern take, not really, but a lot of people associate werewolves with Halloween, because of the original Wolfman movie from Universal. So I thought Teen Wolf would be a great way to kind of kick off our holiday season, where we're going to start talking about some of my favorite classic holiday movies. And Teen Wolf will be the first episode where we'll be getting this. And the reason I picked Teen Wolf too, for the first one of our holiday series this year, is I thought Teen Wolf, not only do I myself associate with it with Halloween, but I love the fact I love watching comedies. I love the fact that Teen Wolf is not only associated with Halloween time and kind of it's kind of a comedy / horror film. And I always love those. So we will get into that. This has been episode 4 of Jrock's Pop Culture Revolution. And we've been talking all about Foghat and the 50th anniversary for Fool for the City. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you here next time for episode 5. Take care and crank this up. Woo! Thank you, Roger Earl.